Here we go, Michael. The blue chip wide receivers in the National Football League, and this list is the best of the best. These guys, absolutely fantastic receivers, starting with Cooper Kupp of the LA Rams, won the Offensive Player of the Year last year, also won Super Bowl MVP, entering his age 29 season, his 6th year in the National Football League. Tyreek Hill, now of the Miami Dolphins. Davante Adams, now of the Las Vegas Raiders. Then a couple of LSU Tigers in Justin Jefferson of the Minnesota Vikings and JaMarr Chase of the Cincinnati Bengals. But I want to start with Tyreek Hill because I have a feeling that you might think Tyreek Hill is the best wide receiver in the league. In my opinion, he's definitely the most feared wide receiver.
Yeah.
But how can he impact this Dolphins offense?
Well, first of all, he's got elite speed. I mean, it's elite speed. But what he has more than anything is elite quickness. And so when he catches that slant, and if you don't have somebody in the window to tackle him, and that he can separate, he can get to full speed in an instant. And he's thicker and more physical than you think he is. He's hard to get on the ground. So when the ball's in his hands, he doesn't go down easily. Whereas Michael Hardeman goes down. Even though Michael Hardeman's really fast, he's not as physical as Tyreek Hill is. Mm-hmm. And so, the reason that coverage came into play last year where the safeties were so far deep, encouraging, basically telling Andy Reid, run it. We want you to run it, Andy. The box is light. Run it. It's because they didn't want to get beat over the top with this guy. So Hill averages 11 yards a catch last year. Still has 9 touchdowns. He was targeted 159 times last year. Got 111 catches. I don't know how they lose. I don't know where they replace that. But what they're not going to be able to replace is the game plan. So on Tuesday afternoon, when you're playing the Chiefs, your whole thinking is, what am I going to do with Hill? I got to jam at the line. I got to play somebody on top of him. I can't bracket him. When you bracket Hill, where bracket means if you go left, I got him. If you go right, I got him, right? Mm-hmm. Well, if he goes north and south, no one's got him, right? He just runs through everybody. And so that's a hard thing to do. So you got to jam at the line. You got to disrupt his route. You got to have somebody on top to play the deep ball. And then you got to hope you contain the quarterback because he just starts running around back there. And like he did against Baltimore in Kansas City about 3 years ago in 19. I mean, he'll just run to the ball, and he's got unbelievable speed to go catch an uncatchable ball. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know if he's the best receiver. I mean, Kupp, the fact that Kupp converted 81 first downs last year, the fact that Kupp had 16 touchdowns, the fact that Kupp had 145, that he had 76% of the balls thrown to him he caught. 76% of the time. I mean, it's remarkable. What makes Kupp so good is they know it's going to him and nobody stops him. Like, nobody's taking him out of the game. I mean, he had almost 200 targets last year. 200, And so, to me, I mean, look, that guy's a third-round pick. I thought Kupp was an inside slot receiver at best. Now, he catches a lot of his balls inside, but his quickness, his eye-hand coordination, his ability to stay in balance is rare.
Yeah. Cooper Kupp has nearly 2,000 receiving yards last year. He even garnered an MVP vote, which you don't really see often for a wide receiver, but he wins Offensive Player of the Year over Jonathan Taylor, Super Bowl MVP for that final drive against the Bengals. He and Stafford connecting on so many big plays, including the go-ahead touchdown in that Super Bowl for the Rams to get that championship. Cooper Kupp, he's a guy that I covered actually his senior year at Eastern Washington when I was working up in Spokane. And all of us were singing from the high heavens that this guy is underrated. He's going to be a star in the NFL just because when you talk to him, you can tell that football is of great importance. Yeah. And the man is so attentive to all the details and the amount of work he puts in. He's a quarterback's best friend out there, as we saw early in his career with Jared Goff and now with Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, and his hands are elite, and so he's got great balance. He knows how to pace a route. He knows how to set up a route. He knows how to accelerate in and out of a cut. He knows how to kind of play the defender, and he's on the same page with the quarterback. So, it's like he's got that point guard ability to get to the rim anytime he wants to. And people have not done a good job. Now, we'll be interested to see, will he get 191 targets again this year? Will he still have that 76% of percentage of catches? I don't know. It's going to be hard to duplicate that year. I mean, the guy averaged 114 yards a game last year.
Yeah.
I mean, 114 a game. It's ridiculous. I mean, what he did was unbelievable. And credit to McVay for finding different ways to get him the ball when everybody that's when you know you're good. When everybody knows you're getting the ball and you still get the ball.
Yeah. And especially on third downs. You talk about how he converted so many first downs last season. Everybody knows when it's money time. Yeah.
81 of them. 81,
It's crazy.
81 times he caught the ball. The referee pointed in the other direction, and the chain crew moved the sticks. That's 81 times out of 145 catches.
Yeah, it was a Jerry Rice-esque season. I'm not putting him in the Jerry Rice class, but it was on par with some of the seasons that Jerry Rice had. But the only difference is that Jerry Rice had about 10 to 12 of those seasons, which is why he's up to where he is. Cooper Kupp is a all-pro, same with Tyreek Hill. But we saw another all-pro switch teams this offseason, Davante Adams going from the Green Bay Packers to the Las Vegas Raiders. And in doing research for this podcast and looking at Adams' stats, I was a little surprised that he only has 3 1,000-yard seasons under his belt. But from a football technical standpoint, probably has the best release off the line of scrimmage in the league.
Yeah, because he's always getting press coverage. I mean, he always knows the guys. The coverage is always rolled to him. The fact that he was at 72.8% of catch, which is remarkable for a receiver, right? That's really remarkable. And he's going to join a team in the Raiders where Hunter Renfrow was at 80% last year, 80.5. So, why is those numbers so high? Because that tells you the quarterback's really accurate with the football. That tells you that Carr and Rodgers can put the ball where his receivers can catch it. Now, you say, well, what about Mike Williams? And he was only at 59%. Well, Mike Williams is running deeper routes that are hard to hit. It's like 3-run homers. They're hard to get. Whereas when you're running those inside routes all the time, it's easier to get your percentage of numbers catches up. So, I think that's what makes Adams so unique is he gets away from press. He'll make the catch in traffic. He puts the ball in the end zone, 11 touchdowns. He almost averaged 100 yards a game too.
Of these two blue chips, Adams and Hill, who switch teams here, who do you think makes the biggest impact in their new location?
Well, I mean, I think Adams can because he's got Waller. So the Raiders are going to be very Chief-like in the sense when they get into 3 receivers and they're in 11 personnel with a back in the backfield, they're going to be hard to defend. And and Josh McDaniels as a head coach will run the ball more. He won't get bored running the football. He will not get bored. He will keep rounding that rock because if you're going to play a light box, he'll take the 5 and 6 yard games. There's no doubt he'll take that. So. In Miami, everybody thinks Tyreek Hill's in Miami to catch the deep ball for Tua. I think he's in Miami to catch the slants and advance it, run after the catch. I think that's what he's there for. Yeah. I think he's there to do what Waddle did. Waddle averaged 9.8 yards a catch last year. Think about that. He had 104 catches. He averaged 9.8. That's not very good.
That's not good. That's not even a first down.
That's not very. No, I mean that's not very good. So what I think they want to do is get him the ball and get his ability to break a tackle and go. Because, look, you could say whatever you want about Tua, right? Tua's not a good deep ball thrower. He doesn't have a great arm. He doesn't have great, it's not going to happen. I don't care who comes to his defense. It's on tape. So he needs guys that'll run with it after the catch.
Yeah, he's got a couple of them in Waddle and Tyreek Hill. That Dolphins offense, they might be able to field a 4x1 team that could qualify for the Olympics with the kind of speed that they have with those skill positions. There's 2 first-round picks among these blue-chip wide receivers, and the 2 of them are the 2 young bucks from LSU. Imagine these guys on a college offense. We don't have to imagine it. We saw it, and they blew everybody out. But Justin Jefferson of the Minnesota Vikings, the most wide receiving yards of any wide receiver in league history, Jefferson had with 3,016 in his first 2 seasons. Absolutely fantastic. Entering his age 23 season, third year. JaMarr Chase won Offensive Rookie of the Year last year, entering his age 22 season, his second year in the league. These guys are just fantastic. But which one do you prefer?
I mean, look, I think Chase has got such huge upside. The guy averaged 18 yards a catch. And, what we saw in Baltimore when he catches that slant and he takes it to the house, they can't get him on the ground. That's something you want out of your receivers. Now, Chase fumbled twice. One thing about Cooper Kupp and Davante Adams, they didn't fumble all year. They did not fumble all season. Where Hunter Renfrow fumbled 5 times. That's a problem. When they get the body 5 times, it's a problem. Jefferson only fumbled once all year. So, I think what these 2 players do, I would take Chase over Jefferson, but Jefferson's a really good player. My Lord, is he good. Yeah. 15 yards a catch, 65% the ball's coming to him. He's going to put in 10 touchdowns. And I think he'll improve. I think the one thing about Minnesota is with Jefferson and Thielen, they have 2 guys who can win on the outside. Mm-hmm. And that's hard to defend. and they'll run the football. I think Kevin O'Connell, I think this Minnesota team has a chance to go over their 9-win total, because when you go really study them, they'll be better on defense. But this offense, Cousins doesn't turn it over. He was number 1 in the league last year in interceptions in terms of their team throwing interceptions. So he protects the football well, and they got 2 playmakers if they stay healthy. I mean, I think people forget Jefferson's only 22 years old still.
Yeah.
I mean, he's only 22. Chase is 21.
Man, these guys are just crazy young. I think I would give the nod to JaMarr Chase, and I'll give you this prediction here, Michael. I think by the end of the season, JaMarr Chase is going to be the best wide receiver in football. He is that damn good at such a young age. You mentioned 18 yards per catch, 13 touchdowns. Remember how we were talking about JaMarr Chase this time last year? He couldn't catch the ball. He was dropping passes in training camp, and then all of a sudden we see him not even a year later, and he's beating Jalen Ramsey deep in the Super Bowl for a touchdown. Like, it's crazy how fast he's developed, and now that he's gotten the rust of missing his junior year after opting out due to COVID, that he's really picked up where he left off his sophomore season, where he was absolutely dominant on that national title team at LSU.
Yeah, you know, the thing is, and I would have picked Sewell. I'll be the first to tell you. If I was in Cincinnati, I would have picked Sewell. I wouldn't have picked Chase. But they got a number. But at least what they got was a number 1 receiver. They have a number 1 receiver, and he can win on the outside. So at least they got that. I still think, you know, based on what they were able to accomplish, you know, for all this season that Chase had, and he was tremendous. And I'm saying, you know, he's lived up to the expect. But without McPherson, the kicker, that they wouldn't be where they are. I mean, let's put that in perspective, right? The guy's 14 for 14. I mean, yeah. I mean, if it wasn't for him, he made the difference come playoff time. Actually, not Chase.
Yeah. I want to ask you one last question here before we wrap this thing up. We saw the Chiefs, Packers, and Titans all trade high-priced wide receivers in A.J. Brown, Davante Adams, and Tyreek Hill. Do you think that this is sort of the end of the high-priced quarterbacks being paired with some of these high-priced wide receivers? Because JaMarr Chase, Justin Jefferson, in a couple of years, those guys are going to be getting big deals. We know that the Bengals are probably going to pay Joe Burrow as well. Might we see a split from these guys, from their quarterback situations, going to other teams because the contracts are getting so high for these pass catchers?
Well, I think the time is now to sign Burrow to an extension. Mike Brown's already made that. And then you can figure out what you can pay Chase. You know, and then you got to pay him. To me, Chase makes it easy. He's a number 1 receiver.
Yeah.
Adams made it easy because he's a number 1 receiver. The Packers felt like they needed to go in a different direction. To me, Jefferson's a number 1 receiver. Thielen's not going to be around there long enough. So I think if you say this guy is a number 1 receiver, he can win against everybody, then you pay him.
Yeah, but it's fascinating. We saw the
and that's where I had trouble with.
KC?
Yeah, I mean, like who's going to be their number 1 receiver now? You know, Hardeman. It's a good. Will they get it back? I don't know.
Yeah, we saw KC, Green Bay. They said we're going to lean on the elite quarterback to try to elevate this thing, because we don't want to pay the $30 million a year. But, you know, Jefferson, you know, Chase, those guys are going to command that kind of money.
Right, but you have Mahomes. And one thing we know is you have Rodgers, and they make guys better. And also, if you go back to the beginning of this conversation, if you can find your Gabriel Davises, if you can find your Deebo Samuels, if you can find your A.J. Browns and not have to pay them, that's the best model to be successful. When you got to pay receivers, and all of a sudden you're taken away from defensive linemen, offensive linemen, and your quarterback. The one position we know, and I think Aaron Rodgers has proven this over everybody, the quarterback will make the receivers look better.
Thanks for watching the GM Shuffle with Michael Lombardi. And for more videos like this, make sure to subscribe to VSiN Live and the GM Shuffle podcast with Michael Lombardi, presented by DraftKings and VSiN, wherever you get your podcasts.